When we last left off, my hope was gone. I had been caught and was praying for death in a coffin while Lena was racing to save me, following a trail that was already cold. What happened next revealed a truth about my savior that I never, ever saw coming. Please let me know in the comments where you are watching from, because this part of my story, this part gets dark. Lena was filled with so much guilt after she left me in the bush. She couldn't sleep. The shame was like a heavy blanket on her heart. She went back to the forest, hoping to find me hiding there. She looked for me everywhere. She looked behind big trees and in every corner, but all she found were my small footprints in the soft mud. Her heart broke when she saw the big boots of the men chasing me. The ground told a story of a struggle. The evidence was there for her to see clearly. She knew they had captured me. There was nothing she could do. They had taken me away. After seeing the footprints, Lena was heartbroken. The guilt was like a heavy stone on her heart. She knew she had to do something, no matter the cost. She couldn't just leave me to die. She went home and started selling all the nice things she had, her jewelry, her expensive clothes, everything. She knew calling the police was useless. They wouldn't help. The money was for a disguise to get close to the men again and find me. She was caught in a cage of her own making now, built from her guilt and shame, and only saving me could set her free. Lena used the money to make herself look completely different. She cut her hair and even changed the way she walked. The years of working for the evil men had taught her how they operated, and she used that knowledge to sneak into their house like a ghost. She moved through the high walls and dark hallways, searching every single room for me. Her heart was pounding, but she had to find a sign, any sign. Every face she saw that wasn't mine was like a stab to her own heart, but I wasn't there. Lena searched and searched, but she couldn't find me. She checked every corner, every cell, and every small room where they kept girls, but I wasn't in any of them. Every face she saw was filled with hopelessness, just like mine had been, but none of them were me. She was growing tired and desperate, and she knew her disguise couldn't hold forever. It was in that moment she had to take a huge risk, a chance that could have ended her life right there. She had to ask. Lena went to another worker, pretending to be a colleague, just making small talk. Her heart was beating so fast, she was sure the other person could hear it. "I heard they had a special girl, one that was very expensive," she asked, trying to sound casual. The man just laughed. "Ah, that one. She's been taken to Mr. Joe himself," he said, like it was a normal thing. The words hit her like a stone. She knew that name. My fate had been sealed, and her whole world turned upside down. While Lena was figuring out my location, I was being taken to Mr. Joe's place. The men were quiet, but their eyes were cold. They forced me into a black coffin, and I knew this was my final cage. It wasn't just a physical prison, it was a living death. I had to lie there for 2 full days in the dark, and all I could do was pray to my late parents to just take my life. I wanted to die before the ritual could begin. While I was in that coffin praying, Lena was on her way to Mr. Joe's huge house. It was a fortress, even scarier than the last one, but she didn't care. She had a plan, and she somehow managed to sneak in, moving on tiptoes like a ghost in the dark. She was looking for the secret room, the one where they would keep someone like me. But she wasn't as good at this as she thought. A group of men on patrol saw her. They shouted, but she just ran. They caught her. She was a prisoner now. The guards dragged Lena through the mansion's halls, all the way to the big boss. He was sitting down, smoking a cigarette with his head bent low. When he finally looked up and his eyes met Lena's, the shock on both their faces was a terrible thing to see. "Uncle Joe," Lena cried out. The man who was the mastermind behind all this evil, the one who controlled everything, was her family. He was the wealthiest man in her family, but he was also the devil himself. Now she was trapped in his house. Lena knew she had to think fast. The look on Uncle Joe's face was a mixture of shock and suspicion, and she knew he wouldn't hesitate to kill her. "Uncle, I came to pay you a visit," she lied quickly, trying to make her voice sound happy, not afraid. "I'm so happy I found you. I need financial help. I can't even feed myself." He looked at her hard, but then his face softened a little. He told his men to get her a room. For now, she was safe, but in a deeper, more dangerous trap. I was lying in the coffin, praying for my life to end, when the door suddenly opened. I saw a face that was like a ghost to me. It was Lena. She was shaking me, whispering my name. "Kira, wake up! We need to go!" But I didn't want to go. I just stared at her. "Lena," I whispered, so confused. "You came back for me?" I couldn't believe it. I had been ready to die, but now she was here, and it was the last thing I ever expected. I had found a way to stop my suffering, but now she was trying to pull me out of it. Lena helped me out of the coffin and gave me some water she had brought. "You came to save me?" I asked her, my voice weak. "This is so risky, Lena. You could have left me to die. I was prepared for it." She looked at me, and her eyes were burning with a new fire. "There's no time for that conversation. We need to leave immediately before they discover us." She pulled me along, and for the first time, a small hope sparked inside me. We ran to the back exit, our hearts pounding, ready to get out of that cage forever. Just as we reached the back door, our hearts pounding, the men were standing right in front of us. "Surprise!" Uncle Joe said, his voice mocking. "Where do you two think you're going?" Lena's face went hard. "I won't let you hurt this girl," she declared. In one quick move, she threw something on the floor that sprayed out a thick smoke, covering the whole area. We used the confusion to run, with the men releasing dogs to chase us. We were so close, but the cage was still holding on tight. We ran harder than ever, the sound of the dogs and the men chasing us. When we reached the highway, we began waving our hands frantically at every car that passed. Nobody stopped. They were too afraid. One taxi driver did, but when he saw our desperate faces, he drove away. We were almost out of hope when finally one car saw us and pulled over. We jumped inside, panting, and as it sped away into the night, we felt free. The cage was finally broken. By morning, we were in Lagos. We finally felt safe, like the whole nightmare was over. We got to a small house, and Lena looked at me. "Kara, we can't just run forever," she said. "We have to expose my uncle's business to the whole country on TV." My heart jumped. "Expose your own uncle?" I asked, shocked. Lena looked so serious. "He's not family to me. He's a monster and will never be free until everyone knows the truth about him." Just as we were making a plan, Lena's phone rang. It was a number she knew, her mother's. But when she answered, it wasn't her mother's voice. A man's voice came through. "If you want your mother alive, you must not say anything about the dog business," he said. Lena's face went white. She cried, "What have you done to her?" In that one moment, all the happiness and freedom we felt disappeared. We were not safe at all. We were still trapped. Lena was just quiet, staring at the phone. Her uncle was truly evil. I asked her if he would really kill his own sister. "He wouldn't care," she said, her voice grim. "That's their rule. Anyone who knows their secret becomes a target." Our little bit of freedom was over before it even began. We were trapped. We couldn't expose him and save other girls because of her mother. And we couldn't run forever. We had nowhere to go. The weeks passed with us living in fear. But something else started happening. My head began to ache and I had a cough that wouldn't go away. I thought it was just a small fever, maybe from all the stress and running. I tried to treat it with medicine from the pharmacy, but it only got worse. The cough became constant and I felt chills all the time. I was so confused. Something was wrong with my body and I didn't know what. A new kind of suffering had found me. My body grew weaker and I couldn't eat anything. One morning, Lena found me lying on the bed, barely able to breathe. She cried out and somehow got me to a taxi, rushing me to the hospital. The air smelled of antiseptic and cheap soap. A doctor came to talk to her. "Your friend is neither deceased nor fully stable," he said plainly, explaining they couldn't find what was wrong. The only way to know was a special test that cost 5 million naira. The look on Lena's face was a new kind of terror. Lena left the hospital, her mind racing. She had no one to call for help, and the men who were chasing us were everywhere. Then she remembered her house, her only valuable thing left. She knew it was dangerous to go there, but she didn't care. She went to the property, got the papers, and sold the house for whatever price she could get. Her whole life was in that house, but she gave it all up for me. She came back to the hospital, holding the cash. Lena paid the money, and the doctors began the tests. The results were deeply troubling. This particular disease can only be transmitted from one source, animals, he told her. Lena was so ashamed to tell him the whole story about what I had been forced to do. She lied, saying it was just a dog bite. The doctor looked at her, his face full of doubt. "Are you certain?" he asked. But Lena insisted, trying to hide the terrible truth, even though it meant they might not be able to save me. "The doctors tried everything they knew for a dog bite, but it didn't work. My body just got weaker, and Lena could see I was dying." The doctor came back, looking at her with that doubt again. "I suspect something more significant." Lena knew she had no choice. "Doctor," she said, her voice so quiet, "you must promise me you won't tell anyone." She finally confessed the horrible truth, letting her shame go just to save my life. The doctor's face went from doubt to something grave and serious. He swore on his life that he would not tell anyone. He told Lena that he would do his best to save me. But then he said something that was a new kind of terror. He told her that because of what happened, there was a chance I might suffer mental problems, even if I lived. Lena was broken all over again, sitting there worried about me, trapped in a nightmare with no end. I began to get better very slowly, and I could finally feel my strength coming back. But our peace didn't last. One sunny afternoon, 2 men with masks and guns suddenly burst into the room. "They found us," Lena whispered. The doctor, who was brave, quickly grabbed his phone and called the police, but one of the men smashed it. They tried to take us, but we heard police sirens. They had no choice but to drop us and run. The police caught them. The doctor told us we were safe now, that the police would take care of it, but Lena shook her head. "We have to leave, now," she insisted. "My uncle has everyone in his pocket, even the police." She knew they would be released as soon as he made one phone call. She arranged a new car and took me to another hospital in a different part of the city. We were hiding in a new building, but we knew we were still in the same danger as before. The cage just looked different. Just as Lena knew, her uncle was already at work. At the police station, the men they arrested told them his name. The police didn't lock him up, they just called him. Uncle Joe laughed and sent them a big amount of money, a bribe, to let his men go. He was truly a king in this evil business. The men were released and they went straight back to him, telling him exactly where we had gone. The police helped the bad men find us. We were only at the new hospital for 2 days, and I started to feel better very fast. I could walk again, and all the sickness was gone. Most encouragingly, I was so surprised that my mind was okay. I didn't have the mental problems the doctor had warned her about. My mind was clear, and I was strong. The sickness from the dogs was gone, and I made a vow to never go back to those men again. Not for anything. Even though my body was strong now, we couldn't stay in one place for long. The men were still looking for us, so we had to move every 2 weeks to a new apartment. We had no peace. We would just get comfortable and it would be time to leave again. "Is this how we must live?" I asked Lena one morning, tired of packing our small bags, constantly running from one location to another. We were free, but we were still prisoners. Lena didn't answer my question. She just looked at me with a hard face. "We can't live like this," she said. "We need a permanent solution. I'm going to find the men who are looking for us." My heart stopped. "You're going to talk to them?" I asked, completely shocked. She explained that maybe the men were also slaves just like us, and we could get them to betray my uncle. I thought the idea was crazy and that she would surely be killed, but she was tired of running. Lena went out into the city and waited for the men who were hunting us. When they found her, she didn't run. She stood there and spoke to them, telling them they were also prisoners of Mr. Joe. She said they should unite with us to end the nightmare. Some of the men listened, but one named Stone was suspicious. But 2 of them, Emmy and another man, finally agreed. We now had allies. A small war had started inside the enemy's camp. Lena came back to me with a smile on her face. "It worked," she said. We were so full of hope. We met with the men and decided that shooting Mr. Joe was too risky. The best plan was to poison his cigarettes. The men seemed to agree. We thought we were finally going to be free. But what we didn't know was that Stone, one of the men, was just pretending. He was secretly going to betray us and tell everything to Uncle Joe. Our hope was a lie. The time came and the men brought my uncle the poisoned cigarettes. We were waiting, holding our breath, hoping to be free. Uncle Joe lit one, and just as he was about to smoke, Stone cried out, "Sir, don't smoke that, they poisoned it." In that 1 second, everything was over. Uncle Joe ordered his guards to seize the traitors, who were promptly imprisoned for their betrayal. Our small hope was completely broken. The men who tried to help us were caught, and we were alone again with no one to save us. Unaware that our plan had failed, Lena and I went to the mansion filled with false hope. We thought that by now, Mr. Joe would be gone and we would be free forever. But as we arrived, the men were already waiting for us. They captured us immediately and dragged us to a furious Uncle Joe. "I warned you," he laughed, his voice cold and mocking. "No one escapes the dog family. I will always find you." Our hope was completely shattered. We were his prisoners again. Uncle Joe was furious that we made him lose a lot of money from the foreign buyer, Mr. Klaus. "If you cannot generate profit one way, you'll do so through another," he told us, his voice flat. He turned us into full-time slaves for the dogs. Rich men would come and pay him money to watch the dogs violate us. This was my worst nightmare coming to life. There was no hope of escape, no allies, just endless suffering. The suffering continued for a whole month. Then Lena started getting sick. Rashes came all over her skin, and she was weak and tired all the time. I was so helpless, watching her get worse. One morning, I begged Uncle Joe to get a doctor for his niece, but he just laughed at me. She can make me money until she dies, he said. So there we were, Lena sick and dying, and me trapped with her, with no hope left at all.